bow your heads. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you with praise and thanksgiving for all the wonderful things that we get to experience as we go through our lives. We also ask, O Lord, that you guide us as we deliberate and make decisions on behalf of the citizens of Harris County. We ask that you be with all of our public safety personnel, with our employees, and with our citizens. Keep them in the palm of your hand. We ask for your guidance, O Lord. We ask for your forgiveness. And we ask that you please allow us to continue to work for the freedoms that have been gained over the years. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. We'll now call on our financial officer, Paul Glick, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is the minutes from the October the 6th meeting. Do I have a motion? I'll second. A motion for approval and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please ratify, raise your hand. Abstain. All right, next is appearance of the citizens. First we have Carrie Copeland, who asked to speak about the paving of Louis Copeland Road. Ms. Copeland, go up to the microphone, please, ma'am.
Okay. Let's stand or sit.
You may sit and just give us your name and address and
Okay.
tell us what you want us to hear.
Thank you for your patience. This is my first time.
Well, we hope it won't be your last.
It will not. Hello, my name is Carrie Copeland. I reside at 579 Louis Copeland Road and have resided there for the last 2 years, since 1974. I was born on the property and actually moved away to build a career, retired, and had to take early retirement due to health problems that I had lifelong, but became escalated to the point where I had to take early retirement. I live on the property and see a great need for the land, for the road known as Louis Copeland Road to be paved to provide access to the citizens that reside on that strip of road. Those that have their residence with frontage on that road. The road is inaccessible whenever, well, it's basically poorly accessible at all times. There are stretches that have very little gravel on them, and with the least little bit of rain, we have washout and muddy conditions which make it difficult to drive. There are other times when there is no rain. The road has some areas that have large pieces of gravel that basically are for the traveling or the traverse of farm vehicles, but not your average family car. Then there are areas of the road that have little or no gravel, and we have the washout areas that produces the ruts, which make the road bumpy at all times. There are no ditches in a lot of the areas. In a lot of the areas, there is no access for two-way traffic. If you meet a car, one or a vehicle, one must stop to allow the other to pass. I experienced an emergency the end of August, and unfortunately, will experience quite a few more for the rest of my life. But the ambulance had such difficulty on the road, the stretcher and the EMT was basically being bounced and tossed about in the vehicle just trying to traverse the road. This, I think, is quite a serious issue because you lose precious minutes, precious seconds when you're trying to do life-saving transportation for anyone. I have spoken to several of the other residents on the road, not just the 3 houses that are on the property that I represent. I represent the property of Jerome Copeland, and we have 3 residences on that one property of 60+ acres. So that's 3 homes, that's a total of 5 vehicles paying road use taxes when they purchase their tags. I have spoken to other residents on the road, and they have no objections to the road being paved and agree that it needs to be paved. The only concern, and they have and mentioned to me, and I see nothing wrong with this, is to restrict the speed limit on the road as residential.
Okay.
I thank you for your time, and if there are any questions you have at this time for me.
It is my understanding you've talked to Ms. McMichael, and she has told you what the procedure is that needs to be followed. So.
Yes.
Okay. But we certainly appreciate your coming before us too, and telling us about this.
This is a private road,
I don't know.
It's a county road.
County road.
I rode down as far as I could. There were some dogs around who didn't want a chance hitting any of them. And the first part, seemed to be well maintained, but I could not go further down because of that. And then on the aerial, on the Q Public website, because of trees and all, it was hard to really see. So I didn't get a good look all the way down. And I sure didn't want to get anybody's dog. So,
Well,
is it a through street or does it?
no, it dead ends in the private property.
Our public works director is here, and he's heard all this, and I'm sure he'll check into that.
okay, good. We can do that. The 2 issues here. Number 1 is just maintaining it properly at this point in time, and we'll have our public works director do that. The other issue is if you and the majority of the people on that road do want it paved, and you're aware of that procedure. So.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Next is Phil McGuire, leash law, dog tag. Mr. McGuire.
Good evening.
Mr. McGuire.
Thanks to the Board of Commissioners for letting me speak tonight. My name is Phil McGuire. I live at 661 J Street in Pine Mountain Valley. I'm a career firefighter with the city of LaGrange. I'm going to be retiring in February with 30 years of service. And as a firefighter, we're required to maintain some type of be in physical shape. And when it starts getting warm outside, I hit the roads, and I love to walk. I'm walking anywhere from 5 to 7 miles every day. I'm off duty. Walk Pine Mountain, Callaway Gardens, Pine Mountain Valley. Sunday afternoon on October the 11th, I went on a walk that basically changed my life forever. This walk is nicknamed the Big Circle because it's a big circle. I come back to my house, it's 5.7 miles. I've been on this walk several times before and encountered 4 pit bulls, which in no way has shown any aggression towards me. They come out in the road, wag their tails, walk down the street with me, and they were gone. Well, Sunday afternoon, I was coming up on this walk, and these pit bulls came up and viciously attacked me without any warning, without any provocation from me, walking on the public street in Pine Mountain Valley in my community. I want to show you some pictures of some of my injuries. I like to get these back. The first one is my left calf muscle, and then the next is my arm. I didn't have this wound in here, but I'm called EMS, or the property owner did call EMS, and I was transported to Midtown Medical Center where I received 29 stitches for my injuries. The dogs had not been vaccinated for rabies, so I'm going through a rabies series now. Got one more shot left. I was in a fight for my life that Sunday afternoon. I'm telling you. When the first dog bit me, I was in a state of shock. I didn't know what really happened. I carried the little sticks about that big around, about that long, just a stick to walk with, and I was swinging that stick to defend myself. Well, the dogs kept biting me. I've got bite marks up both calves, up my quads in the back, bit both arms, and I'm so thankful that the owners were home because I started hollering for help and they came out. I do not know how they got the dogs off of me. I don't remember. And if that's a funny part to all this, I have not been mad at all. I think the Lord has suppressed that inside of me somehow. But something inside of me has changed. I'm not the same person I was on October 11th before I was attacked. The dogs have been quarantined. I talked to Dick Jeter today, and he told me that the families had been sent a certified letter saying they're dangerous, aggressive dogs. And y'all know the routine there. But it's pretty sad when a citizen cannot walk in their own community without the threat of being mauled to death by pit bulls. I mean, me and my wife both agree, if these owners had not been home, I'd be laid up in the cemetery because they were going to continue their attack on me. Every time I tell this story, I relive the attack. I have nightmares. I can't sleep at night. I've been out of work. So my question to the commission board tonight is, do we have a leash law for these dangerous dogs? And if we do, why is it not enforced? I was coming back from church Sunday, and I noticed 2 pit bulls in the driveway on J Street. They were not leashed. They were just sitting at the end of the driveway. The citizens of this county deserve some type of protection from these dangerous dogs. I know in LaGrange where I work, you have to have I think a $50,000 insurance policy on every dangerous dog you own. They have to be leashed, they have to be in a kennel. So do we have a leash law in Harris County? Can I ask that question?
Sure, and we do have one. Mr. Taylor, I'll let you.
Yes, sir, we
explain.
do, but it is, this debate has gone on, off and on for a number of years, and we amended and I don't remember what year it was, we amended, there was not a leash law at all, just dogs ran everywhere. But the statute, the ordinances provide now that there is for want of a better term, a leash law, a leash requirement, but it is limited to subdivisions as that is defined in the zoning ordinance, and It is basically a subdivision is an area where there are 10, at least a minimum of 10 residential lots of 2 acres or more. So, if you have a 5 acre, a 5 lot subdivision, no, it would not. But if it's, a larger subdivision, but in the rural areas where there's no subdivisions, there's no restrictions. But if it's in a subdivision, then the animal is not, whether domesticated or otherwise, is can't run at large, and they either have to be in the yard, either under a fence, kept inside in a pen, or have an electric fence, and adequate to prevent them from coming out in contact with the general public. So, yes, there is a leash law. It is designed or was written, and the commission decided that's where they want to go with it, to make it apply to those areas that are more heavily populated than there would be in other areas, in the more rural areas of the county.
Well, I'm under understanding that Pine Mountain Valley is a subdivision.
Well, I don't think it meets necessarily the definition that's in here. I mean, yes, there are lots out there, but I don't, it's not a.
What can you as commissioners do to protect the citizens from these dangerous dogs? I mean, I talked to the neighbors, and they will not even let their children play in the yard because of these dogs. And I'm not mad at these owners, I'm not mad at them, but it's got to be something that y'all can do to protect the citizens from walking the streets of Harris County with the threat of a dog mauling them to death. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I've never carried a pistol before, but I'm about to carry one when I start walking. And I'm gonna be licensed to carry it, and if a dog comes out and is aggressive toward me, the dog's got to go. Because I will not be attacked again.
Mr. McGuire, did the same owner own all 4 of those?
He owned 3 of the dogs, and his neighbor owned 1 of the dogs. That's all on record with what I think what Bill Jeter turned into dogs. Yes, ma'am.
Also, Phil, when you're talking about dangerous dogs, they have to be classified officially as a dangerous dog, because just by being a pit bull in itself doesn't automatically make them dangerous according to what the county's ordinances are now. And that's probably what Bit's been working on too.
Right.
Was the classification.
Well, he has classified them as dangerous and aggressive dogs.
Yeah, and that's when you get the requirements of having to restrain them, and insurance policies, things like that come into play once they've been determined to be. That's the way the ordinances are.
We represent the city of Grange. My partner drafted that dog ordinance.
Yes.
And I knew he was drafting. I don't know what the contents of it are, but I'll get to that. But it was because of an attack on a former city councilman.
It was
Henry Evans. And tore him to pieces. He was well into his 80s.
And he was in his own yard too, I believe.
Yeah. And so I don't know what, but they did something, and there's some state legislation too. I'll take a look at it and get it to you, so you can take a look at it. But, that's, and I don't know whether it's, just the pit bulls, or whether it's exactly how broad it is. But one way to do it is apply the leash law countywide, as opposed to just, subdivisions where there's a high density, or is maybe this ordinance would provide some help also. And then, of course, aggressive enforcement may be the other, another alternative.
And if we have a leash law countywide, then the sheriff's department can enforce it as well. Mr. McGuire, this is totally changing the subject, but we have a gentleman in this county, retired Command Sergeant Major Rhodes. And what you're experiencing sounds like a lot of what the soldiers go through with post-traumatic stress.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you my business card, and if you will contact me, he's written 2 books on the subject, and I'd like you to talk to him. I think he might be some help.
Okay, thank you.
And we're sorry this happened, Mr. Farrar.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming in and bringing it to us. Unfortunately, we seem to be getting more and more dogs, and people letting them run loose, and we are having a problem, and it is something that we will look at and we will fix. Now, given what you've shown us tonight, obviously the owners will be given the right to appeal the dangerous
Right,
dog
I understand
classification. Whether they do or not, I don't know. If they don't, they accept it, and there are those restrictions, so
Right.
they take care of those dogs, but it doesn't do anything for the county as a whole.
Dogs everywhere.
And I understand.
I've become aware of pit bulls in the last week and a half, believe me.
I'm sure you have, and again, I apologize, but we will be looking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. No others? Cheryl?
No,
All right. Into old business, the Elmig road list. Wood.
Well, my recommendation at this point in time, with some of the information that has come to light in the last week or so, we were looking at potentially of doing Lick Skillet or Fortune Hole. The state has contacted us and said they are going to replace the bridge at no cost to us on Fortune Hole, the larger bridge, which it wouldn't make sense to pave a road and then go in and have to tear it up and put the bridge in. So I would suggest backing up Fortune Hole a year until they finish the bridge and go ahead and do Lick Skillet. And then if we've heard there may be some supplemental funds come out from House Bill 170, then tackle Pine Lake and maybe look at this other road that we were having some issues with if we get a supplemental, and then come back and do Fortune Hole once they've done the new bridge.
Mr. Brown, I'd like to get your opinion on
Yes, sir.
on the resurfacing of roads. I've heard different things, and I don't certainly have the expertise. But you know, I have heard that if you section pave a road, so that you do one part of it this year, and then next year you do the rest, that it's where you seam those two, it's not as good as doing the whole road, because you get more seepage of water into that. And I don't know if you're prepared to, since I haven't talked to you beforehand, but I think the commissioners would like to get a report on that. Certainly on short roads, you know, we'd like to do the whole road at one time.
Yes.
But some of these longer roads, does it make sense to do a portion or not? And what are the any negatives associated with that?
I think that each road is a little different. I think some roads could possibly be sectioned and paved parts of them. Most of the time, if the road hasn't had that done before, normally the road pretty much needs, you know, the road paved throughout. You may skip little parts of it that's still in fair shape, but most of the time the asphalt's so wore out, if it's not there now, it will be there soon. As far as the cracking up and alligating up and all such as that. But I would say that there are probably some roads in some areas that I could see just maybe paving parts of the road,
Okay.
or maybe half of the road.
I might chime in on that. One place where it's logical to do that, though, is where you do have a bridge and there's an adequate break.
Right. We pretty much leave road recommendations to you, because you're the expert in that, as to which ones are the worst and need attention the fastest. So, but that's just, I do know we've had a couple of long, I know Lick Skillet is one that has been done on piecemeal at times. So
Yes.
I think, you know, we would appreciate your recommendations on that, and your comments are helpful.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Well, and that was just the point. There are some that are easier to break because you have a bridge in them. My basis is based on available funding more than anything else at this juncture.
Right. Okay. So, based on what you just said, you are recommending that we do Lick Skillet,
Yes, sir.
Pine Lake,
Pine Lake, we can put Pine Lake on there, but we're not going to have enough money to do both of them unless we get a supplemental from HB 170. Because we're drawn down too far on our T-Splosh. Otherwise, I would say go ahead and do that and do the T-Splosh. We've
okay, so,
overstretched those dollars.
so you just want to do Lick Skillet, and then if we get
HB 170 money, then.
more money
Right,
than
yeah.
we can add some to it.
Correct, and they'll ask for supplemental roads then,
Okay,
is my interpretation.
all right. When do you think I know they want to do these bridges pretty quickly, and they'll end up closing the road for 90 days
Yeah.
maybe, but,
He didn't give me an indication, he said you would be getting a letter probably in the next several weeks. Didn't give me specifics, but they are gonna be quick turn projects.
okay.
Are they likely to be accomplished by February, March? We're looking more
No.
May, June.
Yeah, probably later on in the year, and he actually said it may be in the next fiscal year, which begins in July,
Before the bridge is completed?
before it
When they
started.
Before it started? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this,
Where do we stand on at the intersection of Fortune Hole and Winfrey that had real bad pothole reported?
that's scheduled for repaving.
Okay,
That's one of the ones that's being resurfaced, it's with this year's helping money. That one.
Winfrey.
Yes.
Is part of that, and maybe Mr. Brown, is part of that on Fortune Hole though?
They
Where it comes in? I know the intersect, but do we have to do some paving around Fortune Hole
The bad parts of Fortune Hole are further
away?
east.
But with the new patching machine, we can probably help some of those. There is a road in Commissioner Loudermilk's district, Oxahatchee Creek, that runs down into Ellerslie Place. There was a pothole there that kept breaking out, and I watched it, and I drive that way fairly regularly. And it just kept getting worse, and they patched it. It's been about 3 or 4 months now, and that patch is still holding, and that was a horrible spot that kept breaking up, so I have more confidence in some of our patching capabilities now. Not that that's the end all, but it's more of a stopgap than a
Mr. Brown, you want to say something?
I was gonna say, I think the one you're speaking of, Mr. Lane, is, after you turn out on Fortune Hole, going towards, just say the end of Barnes Mill. We did cut out an area, and there's also one other area there that needs cutting out. We cut out an area, not a big area, probably 20 foot by almost half a lane. And we put GAB in it, we've been letting the traffic run on it. I've got several patches to get out the Duro patcher that we need to do a lot in different areas. Poplar Place, that place there, several places, but to be honest, we've been so swamped here lately, we hadn't had time to get the Duro patcher out to enable us to do that, but just as soon as we can. And I've also promised, and a week ago, that we was gonna get it out this week, and I'm not so sure if we'll be able to do it this week. But we are working towards it.
All right, thank you, sir.
May I ask a question regarding, when they redo the bridge, is the heavy equipment needing to come in from both sides to do it?
Yeah, you'll have to have some on both sides, because you're gonna totally breach it.
Well, I figured, but I just didn't want to make an
Because
assumption.
you're gonna have to build the bulkhead on either side. So there'll at least be cement trucks on either side.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, I think it was Becky that mentioned Madison Way, which has kind of been on the list too. And there's one particular section which is pretty bad, but if we could get that repaired, then we probably could take that road off the list to get that repaired. Is Brady familiar with that section of Madison Way?
Yes, sir, we tried to slide it in on the paving that we're getting ready to do now. Apparently it was denied. I didn't know whether y'all had denied it or where it got
No, we
denied.
haven't denied.
No,
No,
I had asked the question if we could use the Durapatcher for that one piece, because most of the road on either side of that patch, which I thought was about 100 feet maybe.
Yes, a little longer. You are talking about.
And that's where it's really bad in
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Madison Way, but the other part on each side,
it was over $100,000 just to do that with the stretch. That's the only reason.
with the
Yeah,
Durapatcher.
with the repaving. I don't know if the Durapatcher will be the end all of that one. It may hold it together.
I feel like on something that big, that it may be a temporary fix, but I don't think it would what hold up on a long term
The
with the
ultimate-
Dura patch.
The ultimate problem is the base shot on that. We've got to take it out, you've got to go down deep, replace that base so that the top will be decent.
Now, and my point was, could we do something with that one patch without having to pave the entire road?
Yes, ma'am. What I put in for on that particular thing, I think it was 300, the length of that, not just what's in GAB right now that has been dug out and put GAB in there, but the part that's broken up, I think is actually about 300 foot long. And I put in to mill out, patch out, 400 foot, 6 inches deep, and then putting back in the binder and then topping that section. The rest of the road is not long, and we had played with the idea of going ahead and topping the rest of the road for matching, but I think if we could do that one area, that would really help that situation.
It would, I think, if we could do that sooner rather than later.
And that's something you and your crew can do, right?
Not cut
Well,
out.
like I say, there's a lot of difference between an asphalt patcher and the Dura patcher. The Dura, that's why it's called a patcher. It's a small, there's a big difference there. But I think something with that stretch of road would probably need to have a paver come in. And as far as cutting it out, with us cutting it out, you're talking about a long term. If we had plenty of time, that would be great. But the patch machine, the milling machine would go in there and cut it out, and they'd have it put back in no time. Of course, I know that's money.
But the Durapatcher could do just a temporary fix on it, would it, or not?
We will give it a shot, yes, sir.
What does the Durapatcher do?
It will patch areas where the asphalt is sunk down or alligatored up, and you're not removing it, but you're laying that coat of Durapatcher over it. But when you're going from GAB, which is, the rock that we use on the roads, the crushing run's the old term for it, it's not going to do quite the same putting it on GAB as it would on broken up asphalt or filling up a divot that traffic had done. It will fill that up nicely, and it's got somewhere to hold it. But with the GAB, it's got flex to it, is what I'm saying.
Is it made more specifically for smaller areas or large areas, or?
Well, we was told, the man that come in and demonstrated it for us, we was told that it would do anything. But we've tried some areas.
The size of that tabletop, really, before you.
And we've done several large areas. We've done several large areas on Winfrey that was pretty messed up. And Chairman Lane was out with us, and it seemed to do well. But after a little more research and us trying it in a couple of places, I don't think it's the right thing for what we would call paving the area. There's a big difference in the paving and Durapatch. Ma'am?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So then your recommendation then is that we just pay Lickskillet, and then if we end up with more revenue funds, we can come back and look at
Yes, sir.
a couple of these.
Yeah, and I'm optimistic that, based on what we heard at the legislative conference, I'm optimistic some of those funds are going to be coming down.
Yeah, me too. All right, so do I have a motion then as far as Elmick?
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion already.
Motion on the second.
There is,
There's a
I'm
motion
sorry.
and a second.
It was
And I'll
tabled
motion
by
on it.
Jim.
And
Okay.
I'll be glad to withdraw my motion, Jim, if that's okay with you.
I'll do the same with the second.
Oh, yours was second, yeah.
I will make a motion that we pave Lickskillet Road.
And I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second to pay Lickskillet. Do you have any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. And thank you, Mr. Brown, for addressing those other issues as
Yes, sir.
you can. All right, any other old business? You're moving into new business then, you have in your packets, you week the statement for August, which on the whole says that we're still doing very well as far as sticking with our budget. A couple of departments that were over because of equipment purchases that by the end of the year we should be okay. Do you have a motion regarding this?
Make a motion that we approve it.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Next is an application for beer and wine on premise at the Lake Hardy Marina Restaurant. This is the first reading of this alcohol application. The applicant is Steve Kennedy. Kennedy here tonight. All right. Kennedy, located at 45 Bonnie Drive, Forson. The restaurant is located, of course, at the Lake Hardy Marina on the second floor. The Sheriff's Department has recommended approval. The Health Department has recommended approval, and Community Development has recommended disapproval for two reasons. One, that business does not have the minimum 20 parking spaces required for on-premises licenses. Number two, on-premises license require the business to be a minimum of 200 yards, 600 feet from the nearest residence. And this potential business, or this business is located only 332 feet from the nearest house. We will not vote tonight, but Mr. Kennedy, I will give you the opportunity to make a comment if you would like.
I'd love to do that, if roll call is appropriate.
Please come up.
Thank you very much for that. Told somebody earlier, we started talking with Jay Seifert back last November about purchasing the marina. It's turned into a much bigger project than that, because not only did we purchase the marina, we purchased his old boat store and repair up on 219 at Bartlett Ferry Road, along with the Singleton Marine Group, which is a huge entity located throughout the southeast, and their boat and marina influence. We got into a much bigger project than what we had started out to. Jay and I sat in his Jeep on election day at the little school where we boat, and I tried to encourage him to let me purchase the marina just so my wife would think I had a job. Almost a year later, we built a really nice marina, which includes a nice convenience store. We've built new docks and fuel pumps. We've widened boat ramps. We put $2 million worth of boats on the ground in a brand new building up on 219 at Bartlett Ferry. So there's a lot taking place over the last year that this time last year I didn't intend to get involved in. The restaurant was conceived almost after the fact, as we thought we would serve a few pizzas, and the population on the lake came to us and said, you know, there's nowhere to eat on the lake, especially where you can come by water. And since you have this nice building, why don't you go ahead and just build a restaurant? And as we got further into the concept, having a restaurant with a 12-month revenue stream, as opposed to just pumping gas and stuff for a few months during the summer, seemed more and more intriguing, since we had a rent factor built into that really new expensive building we built. So that's where the restaurant came from. So there was some delay, and we opened the convenience store and the gas pumps and all in the summer. And as we got, I'll never forget the day Raymond from the health department came and stood in the back lot, and he said, you know why you don't see me in the new restaurants out in the county? I said, well, no, sir, because you don't like me. He said, because you're not going to like what I'm fixing to tell you. He said, we're going to have this septic system. And I said, yes, sir, we got 3 of those out here buried in the ground. A couple of them have pumps, and we've had them checked out. He said, no, sir, that's not what I'm talking about. $67,000 later, and about a 3-month delay with soil engineers and others involved, we have this massive septic system that's actually more adequate than what the condos next door has. So we built that with a delay and knowing there was an investment. And the reason I even mention this is somebody might say, you know, why are you here a year later applying for an alcohol license when you knew a year earlier you were going to have a restaurant and be here asking for that? You know, we've talked to the residents, we've heard from the population at the lake. Mr. Loudon and I made a comment earlier about the number of people that actually live there. That population continues to grow as full-time residents continue to move from everywhere, not just Columbus. But when we grew up there 50 years ago, we had a little cabin, and we saw it about once a month, maybe twice a month during the summer. The rest of the time it was shut down. The water lines burst, and we came back to find, things torn up and pilfered and so forth. So now, with security and paved roads and almost in a subdivision type environment, there's million-dollar homes popping up every day, and that population will buy the boats that we're selling. There's no place in Columbus or within 50 miles will sell you any kind of boat, much less repair one. So we're excited about that piece of the business. We're excited about putting gas on them, putting them on the lake. With everything else involved, I only ask you to look deeper into the situation other than just we're applying for an alcohol license with some parking issues and some proximity to a local residence. The local residence has given her full, I probably shouldn't go there because even Nancy McMichael said it doesn't matter if anybody lives there, so that's here and there. But the residents are looking forward to us being there. They've seen what we've done. They're excited about it. The parking issue real quickly is we had 20 parking spaces laid out today in the lot. When the gentleman came from the county and looked at that, we still had construction trailers, storage trailers, dumpsters, and other things on the lot, so it was almost impossible to see how 20 spaces might be laid out. So I challenged them to come back and see that that's been done. More importantly, about 50% of our clientele over the last 6 weeks of existence have come by water. So, and we've got 20 parking spaces on the water alone. So if you come by water, then you got that in addition to the parking spaces by land. So we get them from both ways. Looking further into it, I only ask that you see that we're a very unique situation. Being on the water in a Georgia Power managed type property, we already have a retail license that was grandfathered from Jay Seifert downstairs. So we would maintain our presence as an on-premise upstairs within that same building, same owner, same property, same business license, same everything, just one on top of the other. So, looking a little bit further down the road, in 2 weeks from now, I hope you look deep into that situation, as a unique situation, and maybe give us some sort of variance to the things that you had issues with there that was marked for non-approval.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, appreciate that. Are there any citizens here who wish to speak in favor of this? Any wish to speak in favor? Are there any citizens here that wish to speak in opposition to this? None in opposition. Okay, thank you. We will,
Before we move to that, I've got a couple of
Yeah.
questions. One for Mr. Taylor.
Maybe gonna ask for one that I was gonna
With reference to the 20 parking spaces and the distance requirement, what flexibility do we as a commission have with reference to that?
Unfortunately, not much. The Georgia courts, and we've dealt with this from time to time here, where we've issued licenses or denied, and folks don't deny, but the Georgia courts have basically said that if you meet the standard in your ordinance for the issuance of an alcohol license, whether it be on premises or off premises, then you can't deny the license. Conversely, if you don't meet them specifically, you cannot grant the license. There's no variance allowed in the way that the Georgia courts have interpreted the statute. I'm not sure, and if they could get 20 parking places, then that would take care of one of the two issues.
I mean, he makes a good point about, being on the water and people accessing the property by boat.
Right, I think it's gonna probably take an amendment to your ordinance for alcohol, dealing with distance from buildings. Now, you gotta keep in mind that the state has got some specific distance requirements that deal with schools and hospitals and, and those type of things. I'll go back in between there and the next time, and I'll look at those and get a memo to you with the specific distances. But it would appear now, based on what I see, that you don't have a whole lot of, you don't have any discretion. If it doesn't meet it, then there's nothing you can do except amend your ordinance later and then let him come back and apply. If he does meet it, then he's entitled to the ordinance, even though there may be people who disagree with the issuance of the license.
Could I ask Mr. Kennedy one question, please? Let me make sure I understand. This is you're in the district that I represent, District 3.
Yes, ma'am.
You would have an on-premise license for the downstairs portion?
We currently have a retail.
I'm sorry,
retail license down.
off-premise downstairs and on-premise upstairs.
Yeah, we currently
Is that
have
right?
retail, and we're asking to add on premise, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that.
And the retail license was grandfathered from Jay Seifert, so.
So you already have the on-premises.
Right, downstairs.
And several years ago, and I say several, time moves on, you amended your ordinance to provide for the abolition of brown bagging, so that you couldn't go downstairs and buy a six-pack downstairs and come upstairs and drink it on the porch in the restaurant. So you got that issue also that you need to be aware of.
If they could in the boat,
What was that, Jim?
if they could in the boat.
I have another question, which I think I already know the answer to, but I want to ask you anyway.
Tell me what the answer is, and then I'll tell you whether you're right or
I
not.
think the answer's gonna be no. For those residences, I think the closest one, 332, and it's supposed to be 600. If those residences between the 332 and the 600 would waive any objection, would that help?
No.
Okay. See, I told you.
Basically, we have no authority
If they need
to
it.
make any variance of any kind.
No, not under
Not
the
under the
ordinance, and
current
not under
ordinance.
not under the state case law. If they need it, you get it. If not, then you don't.
I would argue that you could count both spaces of parking space.
Well, I mean, that could probably be satisfied.
But you still have the other
And
issue.
you still got the other issue.
But you said there's no brown bagging at all.
No.
Thanks.
Will these other residences tear down their houses? Between the 332 and the 600? No.
You could rezone commercial. Not that you would.
Still alcohol
Then
license.
then it wouldn't be a resident.
Oh, you're talking about the residence that's
Yeah.
closest.
I'm not so sure about that.
I'm just thinking outside the box. Okay.
But,
All right.
Unfortunately, I can, this orders cuts both ways sometimes.
Again, thank you, Mr. Kennedy. We'll wait till we get advice from Mr. Taylor. Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is appointment to the Recreation Board for an at-large position and to replace Mr. Mike Fuson, who has resigned, and his term was to go through December 31, 2017. I think Ms. Langston has a nominee.
I do. Mike Fuson has resigned due to the fact that he has another position across the river, and he's not going to be able to spend as much time on the rec board. He's been an invaluable member of the rec board, I might add. I would like to recommend Aaron Wine. He is a father with 3 children who all participate in our rec programs. He's a coach, and he is also, for 2 years, he was secretary at New Mountain Hill Community. And I think that he would be an excellent replacement.
What's his last name again?
Wine, W-I-N-E.
Right, I guess anyone else have any names that they would like to submit?
Yes.
All right, and I'll take you are recommending and making a motion that
Yes.
we replace Mr. Fuson with Aaron Wine.
With Aaron Wine.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. All right, Mr. Wine. Now on the record. All right, any other new business?
I don't know if I guess this is under new business, but I'd like to ask for an executive session to discuss personnel.
Okay. All right, any other new business, and we'll move to Mr. Wood, the change order for Washington Road.
In many fashions, this coincides with your agreement with relocation of the power poles that Mr. Taylor is going to address. By reducing the speed limit we're able to eliminate having to remove four of the poles, and that's approximately $8,000 per pole that we will save. So they're also going to be able to reduce some of the other costs by going to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. So it's primarily cost savings, but also a lot of individuals have said that that's going to be a great cut through. So folks that don't think of that area are going to be real happy with folks at a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit coming through their residential area. Mr. Chinning has discussed it with the residents, and my understanding is that they are supportive of going to that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit.
What is the change due to this thing is $2,500.
Right, well,
Or down.
It's up, but you're going to save $32,000 on pole moving, so I thought it was worth. And plus, you're going to have less cut and fill requirements, so we're waiting on the modification to come back from the estimate to save additional dollars from doing that.
Do we know for sure that the $8,000 some odd dollars per pole, that it's going to take away 4 poles? And the reason I'm asking this question, I'm really not in favor of 25-mile-per-hour speed limit where all the lots are 2 acres or more. I don't think that's right. So I want to make sure that we're going to
That's what Georgia Power told me. We can try and get some other tweaks in there to save some dollars, as opposed to going the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. The main reason for going is to try and save some dollars, plus to reduce the speed of the traffic coming through there.
If I may say, just on behalf of, I spoke with both Kathy and Ricky Flannel, and they contacted about 12 other folks on Washington Road. And while it's dirt, they said people, I think it's posted currently 35, and folks are going faster than that, and that's a concern, and they're concerned that if it stays 35, that people will go even faster. So that's why they thought if it's 25, maybe they'll go 35. But that was their rationale, and trying to keep people really at 35.
I tend to agree with that.
But a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, correct me if I'm wrong, is more like a subdivision speed.
Yeah.
And city limit core, for example, here in Hamilton, is 25.
When there was a discussion on 219, GDOT came by, and they said, in reality, posting speed limits does not reduce speed. And that was one of the reasons why they would only reduce 219 to 50 miles an hour. And it was only through some influence by people unknown in high places that they got it to 50.
Well, Phil, idea.
So that's just the reality.
Yes,
When you
I
look at
appreciate your
that, we're going to keep everybody speeding, no, you don't.
Well, the design standards would be different for a 25-mile-an-hour road, which tend to discourage a little bit faster driving. Is the kicker that goes.
Does that mean you get an inferior road?
No.
Does that mean you get a dangerous road?
If you're speeding, yes. I mean, it means some of your sight distances are going to be a little different, some of those things, yeah. They're not going to be as aggressive in some of their cuts.
Well, if we know that people are going to speed anyway, I'm concerned about having a road that's more dangerous at a 35-mile-per-hour speed.
I can bring it to you because you combine wisdom, make decisions.
Between saving lives and spending money, I'd rather save lives.
Yeah. Clearly, that's a priority.
The information from GDOT is it does not save lives. Is their opinion. Is they also opinion that turnarounds are safer than traffic lights, turnabouts. But
Well, my point is that if we change the design requirements,
Yeah.
for or 25 mile per hour speed limit, and we know that people are going to drive faster than that, then it creates a more dangerous road. Am I missing something?
No, that's the way I read it.
Well, it's been money to remove a couple more poles. Take a second road.
Have the decisions been made and the engineering been done as to where the location of these poles?
Yes, well, that was the Georgia Power decision.
Yeah, but
They indicated
is it
that.
close to the poles, close to the road, so that their thought was that they might get run into more?
Well, that, and they had to change that. Part of it has to do with cut angles, and the cut angles can be less severe on a 25 mile an hour road than they're going to be on a 35 mile an hour road because of the distance, I think, from the ditches and things like that. So, I was bringing an opportunity to perhaps save money, but it's really the commission's decision as far as, what is optimum for the community. That's not my position to.
I guess I was made aware a couple of weeks ago or so that there was a request for 25 mile an hour speed limit, but I want to make sure, have we made any promises? Or?
No. Mr. Woods had contacted me in order to bring this before the board, and I told him I would contact some of the folks on Washington Road to get feedback. That's all. It was just feedback.
It's just
Totally
an option, there's
Yes.
no prime notice.
Okay.
So if we wanted to do it, we knew their position.
My personal feeling is that if you're going to build a road with a 25 mile an hour speed limit on it, that you know people are going to travel 35, you aren't doing your job.
I think that's in almost every road, though, people are going to fudge. That's
No, but
just
they're
what,
still going to go as fast as they can.
if they don't think there's
Yeah,
different.
it doesn't matter, I mean,
No,
I can go,
I know.
for instance, I went down 219 today and I was past at 70 miles an hour, it's a 50.
Yeah.
The speed limits only inhibit the very few people who don't speed. You don't speed in a truck with a trailer.
Oh, so you weren't doing 70?
He was passed. Or no, 65.
He was not admitting guilt here in a public forum.
He's what you call a Sunday driver, get out of the way.
Okay.
Mr. Lane, can I have something?
Yes, sir.
I think, Norm, in my opinion, the speed limit, when it's set, Mr. Woods is right, people's gonna drive however fast they want to. But when the speed limit's set, it does give our law officers opportunity to enforce it. Whereas.
Approved by the state.
Sir?
Only approved by the state operating radar.
Yeah, I'm not saying, but if it's not, if it is higher, they can't enforce it. If we want them to go slower and it's out there, they may not, but the officers can enforce it in that aspect. I don't know about the state and the requirements and all
The
that.
problem is there's a sight distance, and that road doesn't meet the sight distance to be very well enforceable.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I need a motion to officially shoot it down.
Whichever way we go. So if it's 30, just so that it's out there, if they reduce by 4 poles, that's roughly $32,000. And then it'd be $2,500 more in cost, so it's right around $30,000 difference. All right, I'll entertain a motion as to, I guess whether we set the speed limit at 25 or 35.
I'll make a motion that we build a road that's safe at 35.
And I'll second that.
Motion.
Then what we have to remove the poles.
safe at 35.
Well, it just, basically you're gonna say is maintain current design standards. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
I'd just like to say that I respect and understand what the residents of Washington Road are wanting, but I agree with the information that's been presented and the arguments here today, so I agree, appreciate the following.
All right, any other comments or discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. All right, anything else? Mr. Wood?
For me, the attorney has the power pole agreement though.
All right.
Oh, yes, actually I do.
Okay.
I attended the Ebola update today.
Ebola?
Ebola. That, and there's still some concern out there, but in general, the focus was more on, any pandemic that may hit the country or Harris County, making sure we were prepared with the proper procedures. But one thing they did bring up, and I gave to you, all of you, a handout, is the avian flu issue. You may have noticed, and Dr. Woods can comment, is more efficient in his professional capacity on this problem more than I can. You've noticed your egg prices going up, things like that, because according to the discussion we had today, 48 million birds have been killed due to the avian flu. The concern for this area, of course, with the chicken plant, those birds are inspected and made sure that they're not carriers. But there's a possibility, especially of people that are duck and turkey hunters, that the wild animals may contract that. It's not necessarily communicable to humans, but you need to exercise care and where you clean and handle those birds. I would suggest probably wearing exam gloves when you're doing it, just to keep from transmitting anything. And again, I yield to the doctor's knowledge in that area. So
That's about quail and doves.
yeah, it's a bird. But the other issue they said is if you want a Thanksgiving turkey, you might want to buy it now because there's going to be a shortage. And then the other thing is, I talked to Springstead this evening about 5:15. They have completed the job evaluations that were sent, and they may be doing some what they call job audits, where they actually will come in and see the functions. And they'll be getting me some more information in the morning, which I will then pass forward to y'all.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. Before you is an agreement with Georgia Power. Of course, anytime you pave a road, it's going to require relocation of utilities. And that's what this agreement does, is Georgia Power's got the lines down through Washington Road, and this will provide for their Georgia Power's obligation to undertake to remove the poles and relocate the utilities. And that is their undertaking. Of course, your undertaking will is provide proof that you've acquired the necessary road right-of-way, which we have. The cost of this is, of course, the question. And in section 2 of the contract, it recites that, of course, Georgia Power has a compensable property interest in these poles and lines that are out there, for which there cannot be those cannot be taken without due process of law, or meaning they get paid for moving them. But if you glance at the contract, the contract is in the amount of $81,758 for removal of the poles. Now that is the max. There is, if you look on page 2, it says a completion. Upon completion of the work, the county will pay the company the sum of equal to the lesser of $81,750 or the corresponding percentage of actual relocation costs representing the compensable property interest. So at the end of the contract, they'll have to come back and try to adjust what it costs them, you know, and if it's more than that, of course, they have to take the hit for it. If it's less than that, that's what you will pay. The change in scope of the work, if it of course increases, you will have to do something about compensating for that. Dispute resolution, there's a requirement to try to negotiate it. If that doesn't work, then there is a non-binding mediation, and then after that is to the courts, with Georgia being the Georgia law applying, of course, with Georgia power here, and these things being in the county. But I recommend this to you for your approval. You've got to move the poles to straighten the roads out and repave it, and it's very similar to other contracts that you've entered into with Georgia Power for the utility locations.
All right, sir. Entertain a motion?
Make the motion that we go ahead and approve the contract.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. If it does come to litigation, is venue in Harris County or anywhere in the state?
It's going to have to be, I think it would have to be Harris County, because Georgia Power is here, and of course you're here. It's not one of those contracts where the contract doesn't specify. I thought about, well, maybe having it with venue in Harris County, but you know, a lot of contracts with the state, the statute says the venue is in Fulton County. But I am not aware that the Georgia Power is, it would be anywhere else other than here.
I have a question too. It talks about agent's cost of obtaining easement. What do they mean by that?
Where are you talking about?
Throughout, on page 5, the second line, on the last, before the last thing on that line too, it says agent's cost of obtaining easement $1,600, use dot contractor bid.
That's on the supplement, he's referring to,
Yes, supplement.
the back pages.
Oh, supplement, you know, I really didn't get bogged down in looking at those, because those were all numbers, estimates and whatnot that, let me see, page 5.
It's actually on the first.
It's on every line, or every pole, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, you know, I don't know what that means, cost of, you know.
My interpretation is they have to get additional easement that's built into their
cost, yeah. But this is a one shot for you for whatever. They move the poles, and if they have to have an easement, then they've got to get it. But it's not going to exceed $81,000.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion for approval, say by raising your hand. Motion carries. Just, since this has been an issue that's gone on for several months, what's the current status on when they're going to start?
I would have to double check to make sure. The contract is signed and ready to go. I know they had asked for a delay in their notice to proceed, but I was out of town and don't know if that got signed or not. But now that we have the 25-mile-an-hour issue cleared up, that they should be ready to go.
Yeah, what was the delay for, do you know?
Robinson was trying to find some cost savings and suggest some changes.
Thank you.
Okay, on the avian influenza, I'd like to just ask the people, there's quite a few of backyard birds, and all the birds so far that have been depopulated in Georgia, the backyard birds, because they intermingle with wild birds, and so I ask them to please be very careful about handling that sick birds.
if they do have incidents of sick birds, please let the health department, environmental section know. They say that if just a blue jay drops dead in your yard, that happens all the time, but if you see that your bird is sick and you have more than one bird that's sick, they want to know about it.
Part of the way the West Nile was originally found in New Jersey, which was the first state out of New York that was found, was there a series that you could look, there was a series of about 6 to 10 bluebirds or blackbirds that died on different farms, and they were taken in to be examined.
And that's upset.
All right, Ms. Langston earlier had requested an executive session for personnel. Are there any other items that we need for executive session? All right, I'll take her for requests a motion for executive session for personnel. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carried. All right.